In this video of 2 Meter Sessions Friends Around the World, I talk with Husky Gawenda, singer, songwriter of Australian rock band Husky. Of course, we talk about their just released album Stardust Blues.
Keep the fire burning, I am coming down to meet you in the fire.
On the one hand, it's maybe the worst time ever to release an album. And on the other hand, it's maybe the best time. You know, like we're in lockdown here in Melbourne and a lot of people around the world are in lockdown, but the songs aren't.
We also talk about his solo work and the influence of American singer-songwriter Elliott Smith, who recorded a 2 Meter session 4 years before he committed suicide.
And I could have gone to that place, but I didn't understand.
I mean, it's painful, but what's so great about that is you know for certain that he's for real because he just can't fake it.
And we talk about Husky's family story, being from a Jewish background.
I don't come from a religious family, so we weren't observant in terms of the religion, but I grew up with a lot of the culture in my life, and central to that Jewish culture is the Eastern European Jewish language, Yiddish. And I grew up with that language and, more importantly, the songs, the Yiddish songs.
And we also talk a bit about the many times that we met. For instance, in 2017.
Hey man, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing fine. How are you?
Yes, great. It's winter in Melbourne, isn't it?
Yeah, it's winter. Well, almost spring.
What time is it in your, at this moment? Is it around
It's actually,
9-ish?
no, it's just after 6 p.m. and the sun's starting to go down. It's staying a little bit lighter all the time now that the spring's coming. The days are getting a bit longer. And we had our first really beautiful sunny day today in a while. There's just a feeling of spring in the air. There's a smell of, you know, honeysuckle and there's just a slight hint of hope in the air, which is nice. It's been a hard year for everybody.
Yeah. We need some nice weather, good food, and nice festivals. How are you personally doing? Are you surviving?
Yeah, I mean, for me, spending time on my own is not unusual. You know, isolation is an occupational hazard for a songwriter. You know, you need to be alone a lot of the time, and for a musician to work on your craft and to write. So. And it keeps me sane. Writing songs keeps me sane. You know, whatever's happening out in the world, I've always got this kind of internal adventure that I can escape to. And so, yeah, I'm personally doing fine. Apart from just worrying about my loved ones and just the whole planet, you know?
Being in a lockdown, in a red zone situation, talking about an album which is called Stardust Blues. Is that a topic? Is that a serious topic?
Yeah, look, I think that on the one hand, it's a weird, maybe the worst time ever to release an album. And on the other hand, it's maybe the best time to release an album because, you know, like we're in lockdown here in Melbourne and a lot of people around the world are in lockdown, but the songs aren't. And, you know, the songs can reach people wherever they are, you know, in the world and whatever state of lockdown they're in, whatever little cave they're taking shelter in. And I think we need music as much, if not more now than ever. So I'm glad to be releasing music now and talking about it. You know, the only problem is that we can't tour, and touring is such a big part of a release. So that hurts to lose touring. but hopefully we'll get it back sometime in the not too distant future.
Yeah. So this is that's the reason why we do this digital encounter.
Yeah.
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 Good.
Well, it's nice to see your face, even if it is on a screen. I don't see that many faces these days. You know?
Same here. Same here. It's good to see you again. I'm looking for the explanation of SYWD. I couldn't hear it.
The lyric in the chorus is give it up now, give it up now, give it up, let it go now, let it go now, let it go. Come on, come on, come on. Do something you wouldn't do. Something you wouldn't do.
Oh, right. Great. Something you wouldn't do.
At the moment, SYWD, I think, is a favorite. It's just, to me, it's just when I hear it, not that I listen to my album regularly or anything, but when I happen to hear it, it just sounds so strange to me. Like it doesn't sound like a song we would normally write. The kind of asymmetrical time signature, it's kind of funky, but also kind of tender, and the changes are so weird. They don't seem to go together, and yet it works. So to me, it's just this very strange creature, but I like it.
Let it go, let it go, let it go, let it go. Hey, give it up.
So, did you have time to write new songs in these Corona months?
Yeah, well, as a band, we've been sending around ideas to each other, and we've already started sort of vaguely working towards another album.
Mm-hmm.
We started before we even released Stardust Blues. And I've personally been working on a solo record. Actually, I started working on a solo record before, at the end of last year, beginning of this year. And I almost finished recording it. And then we went into lockdown. So I had to put that on hold. And I wrote another album, a whole other solo album, which I've started demoing on my own, on my little Tascam 388 tape machine. So there's a lot of stuff in the works, you know, at some point when the world opens up.
Why did you want to do that solo stuff? Is it because you wanted to write your own pieces for yourself, or is it a different style?
It's a bit of both. It's just a really different journey, writing songs and recording songs on my own. Not better or worse, just very different. You know, it's doing it on my own. It's a very personal and intimate experience, very inward looking, yeah. And it satisfies something in me creatively that is interesting. And working with the band is a different kind of journey. You know, it's a journey that we go on together, and we explore very different terrain to what I would explore just on my own. So with the band takes me to places that I wouldn't have access to on my own, but I still like to access some of those places on my own that I can't access with anyone else.
I understand.
So yeah, they're different journeys, and they go together well. They complement each other and they inform each other.
And what do you have in mind, or who do you have in mind when you're writing things for your solo stuff? Is that, let's say, the Simon and Garfunkel side or the National side?
Well, I'd say it would be leaning more towards the Simon and Garfunkel side, or even, you know, the kind of classic Elliott Smith, kind of world.
You know that we recorded a session with Elliott Smith?
I actually didn't know that.
In 1998. And I would love to play you a song in this interview. So let's just take the opportunity of talking about Elliott Smith a bit and surprise you guys a bit with a song that we recorded in 1998, which is stunningly, because the session wasn't really happening. The fire wasn't firing at that very moment. Story was that he was completely frustrated because of the fuss going on, him and the Grammy and the Gus Van Sant Hollywood thing. So he was really frustrated with his career. He was fed up with all the attention that he as a person got. So he said okay to his record company in the Netherlands. Okay, I want to do that recording, but he didn't show like, I'm really into it. And the songs didn't go really okay, although there are some big treasures in the recording as well.
First the mic, then a half cigarette, singing Kathy's clown. That's the man she's married to now. That's the girl that he takes around town. She appears composed, so she is, I suppose. Who can really tell? She shows no emotion at all. Stares into space like a dead China doll. I'm never gonna know you now, but I'm gonna love you anyhow.
It's interesting because he seemed like a very shy person, and I think you can I think that adds something very special to his music, because you get the feeling that he's letting you in on something very personal, almost painfully personal, and something that it's almost like you're stumbling upon him playing on his own, and you're not really meant to be hearing it. You know, that you get that sense when you listen to his music. And I also can imagine that if the fire just wasn't happening that day, that would be difficult, because he's not the kind of performer or artist who I imagine can just switch it on and off. You know, he's a skilled guitarist and singer too, but really what he runs on is kind of vibe and heart, and if he's just not feeling it, I can imagine it would be very difficult to conjure that.
I'm here today, expected to stay on and on and on. I can't do this song. I've played it too many times. I've just played it hundreds of times, and I'm just sick of it, and I just can't play it. I'm sorry.
No, that's all right.
It's painful, but what's so great about that is you know for certain that he's for real, because he just can't fake it. You know, like the average, most artists would just fake it, you know, and just get through it. But he's so real, he can't fake it. And there's something so interesting and admirable about that.
One way or another, we succeeded in doing an interview, because he never gave interviews on television. But he must have felt sort of frustrated as we did as well. So he said, okay, I'll do an interview. I normally don't, but I will do an interview. And they used that interview later on in the documentary on his life.
Okay. You once said, I'll never be a big rock star.
Well, I said it because I think that's true, but I'm not trying to avoid anything. I'd have to be more, I'm the wrong kind of person to be really big and famous. And I could have gone to that place, but I didn't understand. I didn't understand. I didn't understand.
I read from an older article that you tend to sometimes every now and then also sing in the Bajevish singers, and that's a Jewish thing. That's very close to your Jewish connections. Is being Jewish a thing for you? Is it important in life?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a religious, I don't come from a religious family, so we weren't observant in terms of the religion. I didn't grow up with that, but I grew up with a lot of the culture in my life, and central to that Jewish culture is the Eastern European Jewish language, Yiddish. And so my grandparents and all my older aunties and uncles, and my parents too, they're all from Poland, and they spoke Yiddish, was their first language. My parents not, but they speak fluent Yiddish. And I grew up with that language, and more importantly, the songs, the Yiddish songs. And there's a beautiful tradition of Yiddish folk music, folk songs and poetry, and there were great poets and songwriters. So these were some of the first songs that I learned, Yiddish songs. My mum and my grandmother sang them to me, and my sister too, and my older sister. And so they had a big impact on me, you know, and I'm sure that they were a big and an important part of my early musical education.
Yeah.
With the Bashevis Singers, a big part of it is it gives me this connection, this bridge to my ancestors and to the world that they lived in. You know, a lot of my family and their community perished in the Holocaust. So, and then the survivors of my family came here. Yeah. There's this whole world that they lost and that I have very little access to. And the only way I can really access it, and I guess we all have limited access to our ancestors and the world that they inhabited, because, you know, those worlds don't last, even just through time, they don't last. So, yeah, the Bashevis Singers and singing in Yiddish, and I sing with Gideon, who's in Husky, and he's my cousin, yeah. and I sing with my sister. So it's the three of us in the Bashevis Singers, and we're singing in Yiddish, and we're singing some old folk songs that we love and grew up with, and we're also singing songs that my father wrote. He wrote Yiddish poems that I put music to. So we sing some original songs as well. And it's just a completely different journey to the Husky journey and to the Husky Gawenda journey. So I have to split myself up into different personalities to go on these different journeys. But, you know, I think that's, as an artist, that's an interesting thing.
Yeah. I'm actually reading a book by Mr. Jan Broeke, who's a Dutch author, who wrote a biography on the consul of Lithuania for the Netherlands in 1940. It's a story about Jan Zwartendijk, who helped thousands and thousands of people in cooperation with the Japanese consul to help Polish and Lithuanian Jewish people escape through Lithuania and Japan and Vladivostok to countries like Australia. So I had to think about this a lot. because I'm reading this book. Okay.
Very interesting.
It is. And I don't know how your family came to Australia. Was it during the Second World War or before the Second World War?
Yeah, it was after.
Yeah.
It was after the Second World War, and both my mother's and my father's family came after. My father's family had a long journey through Europe. And they were in Siberia for years, and then ended up in a displaced persons camp in Austria,
Wow.
where in Linz, in Austria, where my father was born, and lived for almost 3 years. And Gideon and I played a music festival in Linz a few years ago, just down the road from where the displaced persons camp was that my father was born. So that was fun. That was interesting.
You call that fun?
Well, by the time we were there, everything was okay, you know?
Yeah.
And it was just interesting. It was moving, you know, it was just moving to be back there playing music, you know, that my family had survived, traveled, journeyed all the way to Australia. And then Gideon and I were back there playing, you know, rock music. It's just weird how the universe works, you know?
Walking through the blue dawn with waves of you sailing through my blood. Keep the fire burning, I am coming down to meet you in the flood.
I was talking to my colleague and I said, hey, we've been doing a lot of things with Husky over the years. First time I saw you play was in a very tiny place called Merlijn in Nijmegen, supporting Andy Schauf. Very shortly after we met in a tiny town called Kortenhoef near Hilversum in a studio complex, a junkyard complex, a lot of dust.
I remember it.
That was nice.
Yep. It was a cool place.
And then we met at Ziggo Club, where we did a live performance with you guys and about 100 people who were watching you. And we did a recording in 2017 in Studio 2 in Hilversum. So we have been passing quite some time over the past few years.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
It will definitely be time to do a new recording. Do you see any opportunities of traveling to Europe again, or is it still a non-issue?
It's hard to imagine right now, but I think that things, you know, I'm hopeful about next year, you know, about hopefully, fingers crossed, there'll be a vaccine and hopefully, you know, we'll get to the other side of this and things can go back to some kind of normality. And as soon as it's possible, we'll be getting on a plane or a boat if we have to get to Europe.
Yeah.
Yeah, we love coming to Europe.
Thank you very much for being so open with me and so personal, because I know that myself being very interested in your history, that's a European thing, I know, but I'm very interested in history, so thank you for being so personal and open to me about this.
It's my pleasure. I feel like I can be with you. We've known each other a long time, and I feel like I'm able to do that. Then again, there's going to be a lot of people I don't know listening to this, but that doesn't matter. For now, it's just you and me.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you very much, and hope to talk to you soon. And see you as soon as possible.
It's my pleasure. Yeah, it's been nice to talk to you and see you again, and I hope to see you on the other side of this soon.
Yeah. Stay healthy. Stay healthy.
You too. Stay safe.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Machinery of your heart